Okay, let's look at chapter 1 of Anglo-Saxon England and the Norman Conquest. So firstly, we're looking at the social system. You can see there the kings at the top, slaves are at the bottom. Earls, thanes and peasants come next. It's important to know what each of these people do, what they owe to the person above them, and that they can change their social status. Peasants and merchants could work their way up to become thanes. Slaves can be freed to become ordinary peasants, and thanes could eventually be promoted to earls. On the other hand, a peasant could sell themselves into slavery, or an earl could be demoted to a thane. Really important that you can explain the features of each of these. The powers of Edward the Confessor. I've got a funny feeling they're going to be asking about how powerful the king was. Whether it's Edward or William, we don't know, but it's really important that we do this as revision. We need to know that he controls the money, which makes him powerful. He decides how much tax people pay. He's got the ability to raise an army when they're needed, and he is the one that can make laws. He also owns a huge amount of land and is rich and could grant land to his followers. Later on, when we look at William, we need to be able to compare them to find out which one had the most power and control when they were king. Strengths then of Edward. He was a powerful king because he had success in battle, but he wasn't the warrior. No, he relied on his earls, Harold and Tostig, to do the fighting for him. So this is kind of a strength, maybe a weakness if they were to turn on him, which they didn't. He was a respected lawmaker, someone who kept the peace, so that made him really respected and strong. He was pious, really religious. He claimed to have a special link to God, so people respected him for that. They wouldn't respect William so much because he wasn't seen as being as godly because of some of the terrible things that he did. Limits to Edward's power? Well, half of the country, the Danelaw, still felt loyalty towards the Vikings, towards the Danes. So Edward's got to be really careful about how he treats them. It means that he gets to tax them a little bit less. He puts control on them a little bit less. The Earl of Wessex, Earl Godwin, was incredibly powerful and did pressurize Edward to do things his way. Godwin was once thrown out of the country by Edward, but he just came back because there's not a lot that Edward could do about it because he was too powerful. What duties do people owe their king? Well, they've got to obey the laws, swear loyalty to him, and join a tithing at the age of 12. They pay taxes, they serve in the military, and they are punished if they break the laws. So why is Edward so powerful? Religion, he's seen as God's representative on earth. People dare not challenge that. He is respected because he's great at passing laws and keeping the peace. And he's got a strong military thanks to Harold and Tostig. The governing of England, keeping law and order. A tithing. Men over the age of 12 had to join a tithing. They were responsible for looking after each other, hunting down criminals. This is known as collective responsibility. They're all in it together. There is a fine called weregild, so if you kill somebody, then you have to pay compensation to their family. It's a way of stopping murders and stopping those blood feuds where people would just kill people and kill people for revenge. So basically, the more important the person is that you kill, the more money you got to pay. The hue and cry. If a crime is committed, someone would let out the hue and cry, and it is the responsibility of the tithing to come and catch the criminal. The king and laws, he made all the laws. The idea was to keep the king's peace. If you disturb the king's peace, you'd be punished. Earls had three responsibilities. Number one, collect the taxes. They got a share of it, they were rich. Legal control, they've got to make sure that the king's laws are carried out in their earldoms. And military control, they have got to provide troops for an army. The Witan, it's a group that advises the king, made up of important aristocrats like earls and archbishops. They help solve problems. He doesn't have to listen to them if he doesn't want to. William later keeps the Witan just to show that he is the legitimate king. Earldom, an earldom's a huge area of land. They're not like counties. You've got maybe 3 or 4 counties in an earldom, so they're much bigger, and you've got an earl that rules over them. How powerful the earls? They could be punished if they threaten the king's power. Maybe. But in the case of people like Tostig or Harold, it would be hard because they are really powerful. You did see, however, earls being challenged and removed. Tostig does get removed as Earl of Northumberland, as we know. Role of the shire reeve or the sheriff. A shire is a county. There's like 3 or 4, maybe 5 of them in an earldom. And the bloke in charge of these shires is the shire reeve. He has got to carry out the king's orders in the shire. So he's an important guy. Structure, the shires are like counties. They have a shire reeve and they have a borough, a walled town. Everybody comes into this walled town to trade, to sell things, because that way the king can keep an eye on what's happening and get his share of the tax. These boroughs are also used for defence. People could come into them if they get attacked because there is a wall around them. Hundreds, each shire is divided into 100. It's roughly 100 families. Tithings are roughly 10 to 12 families, and a hide is a piece of land that you measure wealth by. If you've got 5 hides, you can be a thane, that sort of thing. The role of the fyrd, every 5 hides of land has got to supply a soldier to fight in the army. The shire reeve will collect him. So they can fight in the select fyrd, which will fight anywhere. They go around the country, or the general fyrd that only fought in their local area. They're like a football team that only plays at home. Anglo-Saxon law and order, blood feuds, weregild, collective responsibility. This is a part where you can pause and have a little look and revise it. The economy in Anglo-Saxon England, not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but basically each shire's got a borough, like I said. It's fortified. That's where all the trading takes place. Biggest cities are London and York. What do they trade in? Well, it's usually food and crops and sheep. Some goes to Denmark and Scandinavia. Some goes to Europe. The church, really important in Anglo-Saxon times. It's controlled by bishops who were very rich and very important, but the local priests were often pretty ordinary people and not that well educated. There were monasteries, there were nunneries. We know that from medicine because they were used as hospitals. Religion was very important because everyone worried about what would happen when they died. Even Edward was incredibly devoted. So the church could be used to control people because if you went against it, you'd be punished, and people were scared of that. The power of the House of Godwin. Why are they so powerful? If you look at the map, you can see why. There's Godwinsons all over the place. They control most of England. They're more powerful than the king. Tostig's got Northumbria, Gurtha's got East Anglia, Leofwin's got the Midlands, and Harold's got Wessex, which is the biggest of the earldoms. Why did Edward let them get so powerful? Well, firstly, happy wife, happy life. He's married to Harold Godwinson's sister, so he's got to be nice to the Godwinsons to keep her sweet. Also, England faces threats from Norway in the north, so he wants to be nice to Tostig, so he'll protect. There are threats from Normandy and France in the south, so he needs to be nice to Harold, so he will protect England. The Godwins were also very good at marrying powerful people around Europe, which meant if Edward was nice to them, he'd have access to these powerful contacts. The Godwin family, right there, I'll let you pause and read that. It's basically what I've just said. It tells you why they're so important. Harold's deputy king, pretty important guy. Bit more here, there is a diagram version for you to stop and revise. It also says they are so powerful because they are richer than the king. They've got more money and more land than the king. Luckily, Harold's loyal to the king. Embassy to Normandy, again, I got a feeling about this. I don't know why, I could be wrong, but please know it. He goes to Normandy to take a message to William. We're not quite sure what it is. We think maybe he's going to tell William that Edward wants him to be king after he dies. Harold, however, says he's just going to bring back 2 hostages, his nephews, who've been taken by William. While he's there, we pretty much think that he swore an oath to William and promised to help him become king of England. Some say he did it because he was trying to save his nephew's life, or they would have been killed. Others say he did it and he swore it on holy relics. Harold wears these holy relics into battle at Hastings. He's furious when Harold becomes the king. But really important because it allows this embassy, it allows them to see Harold as an oath breaker. They use it to boost William's claim to the throne. Uprising against Tostig. Basically, Tostig was the Earl of Northumberland, but he had inherited an earldom that, well, weren't used to his ways. They were mostly Danes. They've got Viking laws, Viking customs. They don't pay a lot of tax because Edward tries to keep them sweet so they don't rebel against him. Tostig has none of that. He brings in some seriously large taxes, which makes them angry. He imposes his southern laws, which they hate. He commits murder as well. If someone disagrees with him in his earldom, he will invite them to dinner and have them killed. He allowed King Malcolm of Scotland, his friend, to invade Northumberland and didn't do anything about it, which angered people. Also, they were used to earls being very relaxed and letting them get their own way. Tostig didn't do this. He was hardly ever there as well. And then there's those cultural differences. The language, the culture, they're different. So people get frustrated and angry with him. Events of the uprising, pretty much, they uprose the Thanes. They killed all Tostig's housecarls and asked for a new earl, Morcar. Edward sent Harold to negotiate, saying that they should put Tostig back on the throne. Harold, however, does not do this. He allows Morcar to become earl, so the brothers become enemies. Tostig goes into exile. There's a knock-on effect of this, is that he'll be back later to fight against Harold with Hardrada. Harold, though, because by doing this, he gets rid of a rival for the throne, Tostig, and he also shows the people of Northumberland that he can be trusted. So they will accept him when he becomes king, because he's done something nice for them. Rivals to the throne, not going to spend a long time going over this because it came up in 2024's exam, but it may come up again in some sort of way. So it's good to know these guys. Who are they? Why have they got a claim? Why is it strong? Why is it a little weaker? You can pause if you need to look at this some more. Next, we've got battles. Battle of Gate Fulford and Stamford Bridge. I think it could be very important to know a little bit about why these battles are so significant. Everyone looks at the big one, Hastings, and rightly so, it is important. But these are kind of important too. We've got to know that after Hastings, Harold still got challenges. So he becomes king, but he's worried about the north. Hardrada may invade. He's worried about the south and Normandy. William may invade. He's worried about Tostig because Tostig's out for revenge. He was also worried about the people of the north, the Northumbria, that they may rebel against him and not accept him because he's Tostig's brother or something. But he goes north and he marries Morcar's sister. It helps him make friends with the north. It's a good move because then they accept him. So the Battle of Fulford. This is basically where Tostig and Hardrada attack York. Edwin and Morcar, the earls, are there. They make a mistake. They come out of the city where they could have stayed in, and it's fortified. They position themselves in front of a bog, which is not exactly genius, and they get beaten. Okay, you can pause and have a little revise of this as well. Stamford Bridge, pretty much Harold marches hundreds of miles north and he attacks and kills Hardrada and Tostig. It's very important because it gives him great confidence, beating one of the great warriors of the day. But also, think about it, it's a battle. He will have lost many good men and he'll be exhausted. He also gets a message that William has arrived on the south coast, so he's got to march all the way back ready to fight again. So he's going to be shattered and he's going to have lost a lot of men. So when it comes later to you talking about why Harold lost, these battles are significant. There you go. Consequences of Stamford Bridge. I'll let you have a little pause and take a few notes when you need to. Were the battles significant? This is good. If you get a question like that to explain the importance of them, there you have it. You've got yes, they are important, and then you've got however. So if you do get a how far do you agree, there you go. You can look at both sides. Same with this. You've got reasons why Harold lost the battle, leadership, preparation. You've also got the troops to compare if you want to. And then you've got an explanation of the victory for William. Here we've got the battle itself, a brief story talking about what ensued. And you've got William and the Normans and why they won. So there you go. I've put it together right at the end. William's tactics and leadership versus Harold's leadership and bad luck. So if you learn a few bullet points on each side, if it's a how far question, you can use those. If it's an explain question, you can just use some of those bullet points. Summary. Everyone in Anglo-Saxon society had duties to someone higher up. Local government and justice was overseen by local people. The powerful Godwin family had become the real power behind the throne. Harold's embassy to Norway, the uprising against Tostig, had major consequences. Yeah, that is important. The embassy to Normandy had a major consequence because it made William believe that Harold would support him because he swore on holy relics. It means he was going to attack if Harold breaks his word. The Earl Tostig uprising is important as well because it makes an enemy of Tostig, means he'll want to seek revenge and leads to him going to join up with Hardrada. Three major battles: Fulford, Stamford Bridge, and Hastings. Make sure you know them. Hardrada and Tostig invaded and were defeated. William defeated Harold at the Battle of Hastings, beginning the Norman Conquest. Really important to know reasons why William won and Harold lost. There's a lot of important stuff in there. Okay, here we go. We have some bits and pieces for you as well. If you use this QR code, you'll be able to get to lots of links and revision guides. We've got on Instagram and on TikTok as well. These videos are uploaded as well as YouTube at the Pilton History Department site. So please have a look at them and hopefully they'll be useful to you. See you all later.